As Bitcoiners, we all have friends and family members constantly hitting us with the latest misinformation about Bitcoin, trying to dismiss it and prove us wrong. Today, we're going to arm you with punchy comebacks to 6 of the top myths about Bitcoin so you are ready to squash FUD left, right, and center. And stick around to the end because the last point in particular is one that needs to be dispelled for good. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session. Myth number 1. Bitcoin is a bubble. It's going to crash and it will never come back. Yes, indeed. People still believe that Bitcoin is a bubble, not unlike the tulip bubble back in 1637. This was when a single tulip bulb, yes, the flower, cost as much as a Dutch mansion, and subsequently, and rightfully, crashed to zero in a few short months, never to recover. The entire tulip mania took basically a year to play out. There was also the South Sea Company, the stock, and there was a lot of speculation in and around 1719, 1720. The stock soared on promises of colonial riches, and when those fell short, it tanked 95% in, a calendar year again. And it was dead forever, never came back. In more recent memory, something like the .com bubble, an example here, pets.com, they burned tens of millions of dollars on a service that would just ship pet food. And when the hype of the internet craze died out, not that the internet wasn't useful, but the hype around some of the companies that simply had a website was, well, it was gone forever. It crashed to nothing in a calendar year again. Now, in the .com era, there were some successes like Amazon that actually delivered, but the things that were just pure hype, they did indeed disappear. So what about Bitcoin? How is Bitcoin different from these things? It's gone up a lot. Well, first off, let's look at the length of some of those bubbles. We mentioned, a calendar year. A calendar year, roughly, and they popped and disappeared and never returned, never reinflated. So let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin came to fruition in 2009. So at the time of recording this video, 16 years of history of Bitcoin. It's good. If it was a bubble, it's the longest, most resilient bubble in history. And it also has some qualities of a bubble that aren't typically qualities you would see, namely popping and then reinflating. What I mean is take a look at the chart here. Now, we're zoomed out to pretty much the whole history of Bitcoin. And yes, it looks like it's basically gone up the whole time with some little dips in between. But, zoomed out like this, it can look pretty bubbly. But you need to realize when you go back to these points in time, 4 years prior, 4 years before that, 4 years before that, even when you get back to something like 2013, on the chart right now, it looks indecipherable. It's basically a straight line with a tiny little bump. But back then, that tiny little bump looked like a straight up chart like what we're looking at right now. It did subsequently pop. We'll call it a drawdown, though. It did lose high double-digit percent. I believe that drawdown was 80+% over the course of that bear market. But what happened? It went from just over $1,000, and then the next cycle, it came back and it went up to right around $20,000 the next cycle. We had that happen in 2017. Then it subsequently popped, went from 20,000, it went down to, a few thousand, $3,000, $4,000. And then 2021, up to, at one point, $69,000. Subsequently popped, went down to 15. And then now this new cycle, we're well over $100,000 at this point, and it could go higher. and that would be perfectly fine. So Bitcoin's price history has been volatile, but it hasn't been a bubble in that it goes up a whole bunch, pops, and then stays dead. It keeps reinflating. And so why is that? Why does it continue to have value? Well, because people value it, because it's useful, because it's created the world's first digital, scarce sound money. This is a technological achievement. It gives us money that nobody can print for free, that is provable, that is open source. Anybody can audit it. It is censorship resistant and is globally accessible. I can think of a lot of people that would be very, very useful to. It has a scheduled supply issuance, and that actually contributes to some of these price spikes. So when Bitcoin started, every 10 minutes, 50 new Bitcoin were created, but that number got cut in half about 4 years in. And so you saw a price run up because the market was used to 50 new Bitcoin being created every 10 minutes and was buying them up with ease. But when that supply kind of got cut in half of new coins, well, the market had to adjust. And so the price went up. That was how it adjusted. The same thing happened. Halving happened in 2016, 2017. We saw upward pressure on the price. Same thing. Halving in 2020, upward pressure on the price in 2021. Same thing. Halving 2024, upward pressure on the price. Now, this is the only thing that can affect the price. It also depends on people understanding what it is and finding use in it as well. Of course, there has to be demand. And more people are beginning to understand what Bitcoin is and why it's useful for them. People whose job it is to allocate and preserve capital are starting to understand it, whether it be individuals that are just like you and I, whether it be high net worth individuals. Now we're seeing institutions, one of the biggest examples being MicroStrategy and other companies that are beginning to accumulate Bitcoin as their reserves. We're seeing institutions and ETFs, so exchange traded funds, that can be allocated into pensions and other funds. So people may even begin to have Bitcoin in their retirement accounts or exposure to it and not even realize it because it's just a basket of goods to help you into retirement. And furthermore, we're starting to see governments, whether it be municipal, state level, whether it be actual nation states, that are looking at, discussing, and some actively stocking up on Bitcoin as their reserves. And so when you look at Bitcoin in the context of historical bubbles like the tulip bubble, it just doesn't hold up. It is an entirely different beast and actually has use for people around the globe. Myth number 2, Bitcoin wastes too much energy. Now, Bitcoin does use energy, of course, and a lot of it, but it is not wasteful. It has a purpose. It is Bitcoin's armor against censorship. Now, miners, they expend energy in the process of attaching new transactions to the global ledger of who owns what, known as the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, to undo transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, somebody would have to go back to whenever that transaction took place. They would have to replicate the same amount of energy that was utilized at the time and make their changes. And they would have to move forward all the way up to the current point in time, expending all of the same energy that was expended on the way by the original miners. And they would have to do so even faster than the entire Bitcoin network that is still running at that point. And so that makes reversing transactions prohibitively expensive and censorship infeasible to attempt. Now, on top of that, miners just don't sit there and use regular grid energy and suck away power from everyone else. they chase the cheapest and most efficient forms of power that they can get their hands on. So examples of this may be hydropower. Hydropower near municipalities that can't suck up all of that energy all of the time. When you have a power grid for a city, you need to be creating enough energy for peak demand at all times because it's difficult to store that energy for later. We don't have the battery capacity for anything like that. And so when a city isn't using all of the energy that is created, it's basically wasted. Bitcoin miners can come in and say, hey, whenever you're not using the extra energy, we will buy it and we will use it and we can have an industry here. The same is true if you're a fan of green energy for things like wind farms. If there's excess, Bitcoin miners can come in and they can soak up the excess without it being wasted. If it doesn't make sense to build infrastructure like that and create the power lines to get it to market, Bitcoin can come in on site and soak up the energy and make money for it until it actually makes sense to build those lines out. With oil and gas, oftentimes gas wells that are stranded in the middle of nowhere will have to just flare off some of the gas and just burn it into the atmosphere. Bitcoin miners can come in and cap those wells and utilize that energy, which is much less detrimental to the environment. So Bitcoin is actually helping energy grids and efficiency. Now, furthermore, we are actually going down the road of trying to moralize energy use. And energy use is always subjective. If you want to tumble dry your jeans and your laundry instead of hanging them on a line, go ahead. I won't judge you for that. Are you watching reality TV all night? Again, I might think that's dumb, but you call it entertainment perhaps. The point is, if you pay the bill, you do what you want. Now, I happen to think that securing uncensorable, sound money that is available to the entire globe is a damn good use case for energy. So if I don't get a pass on that, why would somebody's Netflix binge get a pass? If the power is yours to spend, who am I or anyone else to lecture? The game of moralizing energy use is a slippery slope and one that can be turned around on the accuser with ease. Myth number 3, Bitcoin can't scale. Bitcoin's too slow, people say. Just 7 transactions per second. Visa does thousands. But first, let's look at how money actually works and compare apples to apples. Even in the traditional money system, money has layers. The base layer of dollars, moving real value with something like a bank wire, well, that'll take a day if you're lucky, weekends off, there's fees, and it's still reversible if they want. What about going back to sound money settlement, things like gold and physical metals? Well, that requires physical transport and vaults. It takes days and armed escorts. It's very, very expensive and inefficient. Now, on top of our legacy system of dollars, they've slapped things, of course, like Visa, where, yeah, you can swipe. It's instant. It feels free. But that's not settlement. That's just, trust me, I'll balance the books later. And they can claw it back or freeze you anytime. Bitcoin's base layer already crushes everything that came before it. Final settlement in 10 minutes. Global, irreversible, no third party. Orders of magnitude faster, safer, and cheaper than anything else. Then we add in our transaction layers. Lightning, Liquid, Arc, Cashew, Fediment, Spark. These are just some of the things that have come out in the past few years. They let you send in seconds, fast and cheap, each with their own benefits and trade-offs. But no matter what, they're way more sovereign than waiting for a bank to approve your lunch transaction. The point is that on-chain Bitcoin isn't competing with something like Venmo. It's the new base layer of a global sound money, and the rails on top of it are already surpassing the best systems we have in traditional finance today. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. Myth number 4. Bitcoin is only for criminals. Politicians and uneducated people the world over scream that Bitcoin is for criminals. But even ex-CIA head Leon Panetta admitted that cash and traditional banking enables way more crime than cryptocurrency as a whole. FBI data backs it. Banks move hundreds of billions in dirty money yearly, whereas Bitcoin is a tiny fraction of that. Furthermore, since Bitcoin is a transparent ledger, much of it can be tracked. Now, cash, it's still the cartel's best friend. Every bribe, every drug deal. Yet we don't ban $20 bills. If anything, Bitcoin does make crime more traceable. Now, Bitcoin cannot be stopped or shut down, and you can't prevent anyone from using it. The world does have to grapple with that fact. But what if you could stop bad people from using Bitcoin? Then you could stop good people from using it too. You can't freeze drug dealers without freezing the activist under a dictator funding their protest. The Human Rights Foundation works hand in hand with dissidents under tyrannical regimes to use money that no one can easily seize or freeze. Plus, does anyone really trust the government all the time? Everything is pretty polarized right now, and 50% of the population is one election away from having someone they loathe running the country. Do you want to exclusively hand the reins of money control to whoever currently holds office? If you ask me, using and supporting the dollar system is aiding and abetting the real cartel. Bitcoin's not perfect, and yes, bad people can use it, but it gives a level playing field, an absolute lifeline to people in some of the most dire humanitarian conditions on the planet. Myth number 5. Bitcoin will be replaced by the next Bitcoin. Bitcoin is old tech. It's MySpace, just waiting for the Facebook of crypto to come along and dethrone it. This is a common trope spouted by those who feel they've missed the boat. However, history says no. There are millions of other coins out there, literally millions. Yet Bitcoin commands 60% of the whole market. All those millions are what people thought would be the next Bitcoin, and they're nowhere close. Let's take a look at this chart. Now, this is a chart showing over time, and I'm over top of it a little bit, but it goes up to 2020. So it's not super recent, but it's still instructive. It shows Bitcoin in this dotted line here and its price over on the right-hand side. But on the left, it shows the performance of altcoins versus Bitcoin in terms of multiples of Bitcoin. If you had bought something at a certain point in time, how much higher than Bitcoin would it have gone over that period of time? So priced in Bitcoin. If it's above the 1.0 line, then for that period of time, it was a multiple of Bitcoin. But you then have to track it forward if you obtained it at that time to see its performance since. If it's below the line, then it lost versus Bitcoin. And what we see is, yes, With a lot of these coins, they launch and there's hype, and there's these big spikes in price where for a period of time, they perform better than Bitcoin. But if you look further and further into the future, all of those lines coalesce on the 1.0 line, which indicates that they lose all of the gains versus Bitcoin and trend back to their original value or below it. And what this means is, had you just bought Bitcoin, you would have been better off. Or another way of putting it, owning all of these coins is nothing but a volatile path to owning less Bitcoin. Now, these coins die because they can't replicate Bitcoin's launch and its qualities. Bitcoin has no founder, dumping pre-mines, no hidden fees, nothing malicious. It's just pure open code anyone can run, but nobody has built a compelling competing network worth joining. All these coins, they launch under the guise of innovation, whether misguided or intentionally deceptive, but really they've gutted what Bitcoin got right. Simplicity, security, zero trust. They swap out proof of work for something faster or cheaper, sure, but now you've got founders who control supply, you've got hidden inflation, or networks that can be shut down or censored if a few nodes don't like you. Marginal functionality gains with massive trade-offs. Also, network effects are not to be ignored. Switching means starting from zero. Why leave the best, most censorship-resistant money when everyone else is there? Imagine creating a new internet that wasn't backwards compatible with the old one. Who in their right mind would make the leap into the ghost town of the new internet while everyone is still using the original? No marginal improvement would be worth extricating yourself from connecting with the rest of the globe. The graveyard of next Bitcoins is proof. 16 years, no contender. Build on Bitcoin. Don't try to beat it. Myth number 6. Bitcoin's anonymous creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they may be, still secretly control it. People worry that because Bitcoin's creator Satoshi vanished, he maybe built a back door. Maybe he can steal everyone's coins or crash the price. It may sound logical until you ask, why didn't he steal coins or cash out when Bitcoin hit $10,000, let alone $100,000? He could have dumped a fortune. Instead, his wallet is untouched since his disappearance. in 2011. But we have better indications than that that is not possible. Let's establish an important point. The term open source software means the underlying code isn't hidden, and Bitcoin is open source. So that means anyone, literally anyone, can download the Bitcoin software, audit every line of code, run a node, and verify every transaction ever made against every rule baked into the protocol. Furthermore, given Bitcoin is a network protocol, what if Satoshi wanted to change a rule? Well, he can't. Any major change would just make a new network with new rules that people would have to choose to switch over to. Nobody joins unless they like his new rules more. And good luck convincing millions of people to abandon the one that works for one that would steal coins or inflate the supply. Even if Satoshi were still around, control isn't his to lose, it's ours to hold. Every miner, every node, every user who chooses to enforce the same rules. Satoshi didn't build a trap, he built a trust machine that runs without him. If he ever came back, he'd be just another voice in the crowd saying, "Trust me." And, as is tradition, Bitcoiners would be more than happy to greet him with a resounding no. So today we covered 6 of the top myths that people hit you with on Bitcoin. like that it's a bubble that'll never come back, despite the fact that it keeps climbing to new highs every few years. Or that mining uses too much energy when it's really just finding the world's cheapest electrons to turn waste into security. Bitcoin doesn't scale, and yet we have Lightning and these other layer 2s that let you pay for coffee faster than your credit card. Only criminals use it, but banks launder way more and we don't ban them. There's going to be a next Bitcoin. Nope, look at the graveyard of altcoins. And Satoshi is still secretly running it and going to steal from us all. No, he dipped out years ago and left open source code that no one can hijack. So, what did I miss in this video? What else do your friends and family members say that make you groan? Let me know in the comments. I'm sure there's plenty more to do around too. Thank you guys for watching. As always, do like, subscribe, share. And if you need additional help in your Bitcoin learning journey when it comes to practical skills using wallets and hardware and nodes and all of that, make sure you hit up btcsessions.ca/learn, where you're going to find beginner, intermediate, and advanced videos, defaults on skills that you need to know, as well as deep dives with playlists. And if you need additional hand-holding, reach out to my team at bitcoinmentor.io. You can find near the bottom of the page so that you can make sure that your setup is rock solid. With that, I'm out. Keep stacking sats, but also keep stacking those skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? AQUA Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. AQUA also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, AQUA is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download AQUA Wallet today. DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debifi.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, Coldcard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan.